In today's episode, we've partnered with Hello Coach to bring you an exclusive offer that will help you unlock your personal and professional potential. At Hello Coach, we believe in the power of coaching to inspire growth, guide self-discovery, and drive meaningful progress in both life and work. With a team of experienced coaches, you'll enjoy personalized 40-minute sessions tailored to your unique goals, whether you prefer the consistency of working with the same coach or the fresh perspective of different ones. Your privacy is always protected, giving you the space to explore your ambitions with complete confidence. Click in the video in the description box below and use the promo code Lunchtime Series to claim your special offer today. Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchtime Series with me, Britz, leading the charge with insights, information, and ultimately effective results in everything coaching, leadership, and marketing. Please remember to like and share and help us grow our channel even further. Joining me today, she's a leadership coach, life and wellness coach, mentor, wellness counselor, employee, and she's going to be chatting about leadership development, guys. Please welcome to the show, Pearl Tshabalala. Pearl, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Kevin. It's lovely to be here.
Tell us a little bit about your background, and then you can sort of move into what we're going to be discussing today.
Right. So thank you so much for the invite to be here today with you. So Pearl Tshabalala is a psychosocial practitioner. I specialize in leadership coaching, life and wellness coaching, mentoring, and employee wellness services. So I come from a background of social work, and I'm still practicing as a social worker till today. And I've been working in this space for the past 12 years. And my transitioning into the coaching space, I started after I completed my master's in leadership coaching since 2023. So I've been working from the coaching space since then.
Yeah, I mean, and that's quite the career, because I know that we were just chatting about your work. And it's a fascinating part. But when we chatted, one of the areas that you're very passionate about and you love talking about is leadership development. To kick it off, why do you think, for me, it's something I've been doing for a very long time now as well. So I always believe that there's always something to be learned. There's always, from a leadership perspective, we need better leaders in the world, because some of the leaders are not great. But tell us why you want to talk about that today.
I think leadership development, it really is an important topic in terms of our society. And one of the things that we learn is that there's even been science studies where a lot of people leave organizations not because they want to, but because of the leaders that they serve within those spaces. So it's very important that we invest in our leaders so that they can groom the society that they are leading and make a difference. We always say, if you want to go far, you have to go with people. You can't go alone. So as a leader, not only do you need those people to help you, support you in their role, but also there are people who are dependent on you. So meaning that you also must be a person that is assisted in your role. And that's where coaching comes in to assist you to be able to do the work that you do, because there are a lot of people that are dependent on you. So leadership development is not only just about the individual in that position, but also the people that they take along with them in that journey, in their leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as you say, going with someone, you go a lot further when you But essentially, there are benefits to really leaning into the coaching process, especially around leaders. We look at athletes that have coaches. We look at high-performing performers in the world. They all have coaches, right? This is a little bit about the benefits of leadership coaching, because I think it's you and I both. We work in the Hello Coach space. We work as coaches. There's many places we do this, and it's almost synonymous with great leadership is great coaching.
Yeah, no, definitely. You're spot on there. And one of the other benefits when it comes to being in the leadership coaching space is that you become self-aware as an individual working in the leadership position. One of them is that you have a mandate of a work that you need to do, that you need to fulfill. So it's easy to lose track of who you are as an individual. So through the coaching space, one of the things that you will work with your coaches does to help you become self-aware of your own emotions, of your team's emotions, also of the people that you have around you that you support, and also being aware of your own well-being. We assist coaches to develop emotional intelligence. being aware of their own emotions, because there's so much pressure for leaders out there. It's very easy for one to lose sight of their own emotions because they're focusing on the end goal or the agenda. So assisting that particular individual to be able to be aware of their own emotions so that they can regulate better and also be able to support their teams better. It's also another benefit that we have within the leadership coaching spaces. And not only that, but also to assist leaders with their own mental well-being. We know that when it comes to leadership, there is no 8 to 5. Sometimes we work 12-hour shifts, sometimes way more than that. So your own mental well-being, it should be a priority, but we know that there are other lists that are taking up in terms of priority. So having a coach will help you align your mental well-being. It will help you have more clarity in terms of your role and how you lead. And most of all, help you build that confidence. Because being a leader, you are so scrutinized in the work that you do. You are seen in a microscope that even if you make even the littlest of mistake, but because you're a leader, you are so judged by the people you work with and society. And we know that if you do something bad or you get that rejection, it's not easy to pick yourself up again and move on. So coaching will help you build up that confidence to learn from those mistakes and be able to do better in your own space as a leader. So it helps enhances the skills that you have as a leader.
And I love that's what you bring, self-awareness and emotional intelligence, and especially mental well-being. I think if we look at some of the leaders that we're exposed to in the world today, and they're supposed to be the leaders of countries and so many millions and millions of people, there's almost this very unhealthy representation of what we're exposed to as leaders, right? And I think, if we look at the cultural backgrounds, if we look at different segments of the world, there's a very obvious idea of what leadership is supposed to be. But I think with coaches that actually invest in the development of leadership, we're just challenging that norm. We're challenging and saying, no, it is about self-awareness. It is about the emotional intelligence. There's the mental well-being of what coach allows and offers for a leader. At almost every level, there's almost a tangibility that you can point at. Like one of my clients currently going through identity changing, right? The identity shift that's happened in real time. And I think that's what people don't see or don't realize, that leadership coaching can enhance, help with that shift of how we see ourselves.
Absolutely. And I love the word that you use, enhance, because people think that when a person comes into the leadership coaching space, you're going to get there and tell you what to do and how to do it. No, in the coaching space, we enhance the skills that you have. You already do have something, and we help you shape that into something that is gold, if I can put it in that space. So we work with people's self-beliefs that they have about themselves, and we assist them to work into that space so that they are able to achieve the goals that they have set for themselves. So in this coaching space, we work with where you are as a client. So meaning that the foundation is brought by you, and we just help you enhance so that you can see the bigger picture of how everything is going to look like at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the questions that I have here is around, obviously from a coaching perspective, there's enormous improvement around communication, trust, and performance in teams. But one of the words that I think stand out for me around the improvement of that development of self is the word trust. Speak to us a little bit about that.
That is so true. Trust is a big thing, because that's where most of relationships are cemented on. I work with you because I trust you. I can share things with you. I can trust you to be able to give you a task and that you're going to complete it, But one of the things that people forget about is that trust needs to be nurtured. It doesn't automatically come. So meaning that you need to nurture that relationship for you to trust each other and for you to build up the trust. So as a leader, you need to be able to build up the trust with your own team members. For example, delegation. Do you delegate tasks with your team members, or do you hover everything? Do you allow them to take credit, or do you always take credit from them, that it's always you who has done this, but you don't praise your team. So people often forget to nurture the trust relationship so that it builds up to something that is beautiful. So that is something that within the leadership coaching space, we will work with an individual to help them how to build trust within themselves, because also you as an individual, you need to be trusted. So meaning that you also need to bring something to the relationship as a leader. So helping you build up that trust for yourself, and also how to instill that also in your team so that there is that trust relationship within the organization, and also you build up that relationship so that the trust continues between all parties.
I love that you say, you must bring something. And very often when I discuss this with people, it's very easy to say, well, I don't trust this person because they have 110 reasons. My reason to them is, well, it's fine to say that you don't trust someone, but are you trustworthy?
Yes,
right?
definitely.
And definitely kind of having that mirror reflection to kind of, it's all good and well that, someone might not be trusting it, or you're struggling, but do you have trust? Are you trustworthy? Completely frames it, it gives a spin to the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the things that, I love delegation, allowing for people to have credit. Another thing that many leaders struggle with, right? Being able to stand proudly. And so, this is what my team has achieved. And I'm willing to be able to share that. There's a little bit about some of the experiences that you've seen in some development coaching with a leader, and some of the benefits that you've actually seen in real life with what people have started with and where they've ended up.
I think one of my recent cases that I can talk about in terms of working with a leader was one of the challenges that he had was accountability with the team, because he's been a person who has worked with this team. He has seen them grow. So holding them accountable was difficult, which goes back to what I spoke about in terms of delegation, because it was one of the things that he was struggling with. Giving them work, trusting them enough to give them the important task, and also trusting that when they do the work, they're going to do the right thing because it's the person that he has trained them. So that's one of the things that I have seen this person transition from a person who struggled to hold accountability to building up that trust relationship with the team, that even now the team has gotten to a point where they are able to hold themselves accountable. They are able to trust themselves enough that if they are given a task, they're going to do a great job. And that great job is going to also be a representation of themselves and the department. So that was a beautiful transition to say to a person that actually holding one accountable, it's not that you are throwing them at the deep end, but it also creates that trust, because it means that you are putting trust in the work that they do. And that was very beautiful to watch that transition from that leader, from a person who was scared of holding people accountable, but now got to that point where they are building a trust relationship and he can delegate more, and the team can trust that when they get tasks, they're going to do their level best.
Yeah, I love that. And, it comes to mind with one of I've lived by this slogan. I don't know where it comes from, but I remember hearing it and I was like, that's exactly what it is. That leaders create leaders, right? And we know, as you're speaking now, of accountability, trust, the delegation, the allowing for credit.
Absolutely.
You're creating a leader. And if you have a bunch of leaders around you because you've actively invested your knowledge and skill set in them, then you, as the leader, you're leading a bunch of leaders, which is actually a really good thing for you in the long run.
Absolutely. I think you've said it best, because being in a leadership position, you are not just only there to have people work under you. If you are not grooming them for one day to get to that point where they can themselves being in leadership positions, then I don't believe you're doing justice to your position, because they should be taking from you and learning from you, and then aspiring one day to be leaders, but not just leaders, but be better leaders than you are. So when you are in that leadership position, hence at the beginning, I said, people are dependent on you. You need to groom those around you so that they can be future leaders in society. So meaning that what are you planting in terms of in the leadership space as a leader? What are you planting to the next person? What are you invoking in the next person that one day they would like to see themselves as leaders?
I love that. And it leads me to this next question. And I love when I saw this, I was like, yeah, this is a conversation. It's the line between being a boss and being a leader. And people, they think they're leading, but they're actually very bossy.
Mm. Yeah, so true. There is a huge difference between being a boss and being a leader. Being a boss, we take a person who has that authority and wants to be seen as that authority figure, a person who commands, a person who likes to be seen in their positions and be felt that this person really is in that management position or that executive position. While a leader focuses on influencing, what is the difference that they are making in the world? How are they inspiring? Going back to when we said we are grooming leaders, how are they inspiring other people that they are leading? So they are in a space where they focus on the people who are doing the work more than the boss who focuses on the work than the people who are actually doing the work. So it's very different to both, where one just focuses on the organization needs to make money, who is the boss, but the leader looks at, do we have the right people to be able to take the business to that point where it makes money? And how do we empower the people that are there in those positions for them to feel that they can be able to help this organization grow? So that is the difference between the two. And it's so much easy for one to lose track of the other. But I always say, when a person is in the position, what do you learn from them? That will give you an indication if this person is a boss or a leader. Their mindset that they bring into the organization and the people that they lead really is different.
And I think that hits the nail on the head is, a boss is really focused on the work, and rightfully so. That's great. That's wonderful. It needs to get done. But a leader is focused on people, because it's about the influence, about that mindset of going, build those leaders in my teams. How do I trust? How do I show up in a way isn't necessarily obvious, but in a way that actually really teaches and guides to a lot. So an interesting question that sort of lends itself from this is, you also mentioned accountability earlier.
Yeah.
One of the things that we often struggle with, and this is where that emotional intelligence part comes in, is how do we balance accountability and empathy with leaders?
That is a very interesting one. That's a very interesting one, because one, if it's not clear in terms of, am I providing accountability or am I providing empathy? It's easy those ones to cloud their judgment in a way. So when you hold accountability, it's definitely in a space where a person has got the role that they need to fulfill. A person has got a duty that they need to fulfill. And if they haven't fulfilled it, then how do I hold you accountable in terms of the work that you didn't do that you were supposed to do? Being empathetic, it's when a person comes and say, I could not do the work because of, for example, I had a family emergency. I had to leave early, so I missed the deadline because I could not finish up within the last 2 hours. It's to feel where that person is coming from. But at the same time, it's how then do I support you to ensure that such thing doesn't happen? But remember, empathy and accountability also comes with responsibility. So even though you're going to support a person and understand where they're coming from, there's also that sense of responsibility from that individual in terms of them fulfilling their work. So those two go together with responsibility, that this person needs to fulfill a task because the organization is expecting them to fulfill that task. So even if you can be empathetic to an individual, give them an extension to that deadline, for example, but there must also be that sense of responsibility for them or from them in terms of them executing their work that they have promised to execute.
I love that. And I think that's, that ties it in perfectly, that as much as there's accountability, as much as there's empathy, there's still accountability. And I think it certainly, gives us a better frame to kind of understand, all of those things are good, but you're employed. There's a that we have, that we've contracted to, that you're responsible to. And as your leader, I'm going to empathize. I'm going to hold you accountable, and I'm going to point out that this is your responsibilities. Absolutely.
And let me add on to that, Kevin, is that remember, when it comes to accountability, is not a once-off thing. How you treat accountability day in, day out with the people that you work with plays a huge role. Because if you cannot implement it on some days you can, some days you can't. If there isn't consistency in you as a leader bringing accountability, then you will be facing challenges as time goes, because then you're going to struggle with holding people responsible. So it needs to be consistent in terms of the work that is done. And you as a leader, you must be the one to implement that consistently and equally to everybody.
And as you're speaking through that, consistency for me is also it showcases character. And very often, if we do something once and then we forget,
absolutely,
it also speaks, it communicates something, right? But in that consistency, when there's consistency, there's something that builds around character and that responsibility, that accountability. So who you're dealing with, and that's essentially good leadership. People are not necessarily thrown off or unsure about who's leading them, but they know that there's consistency. I love it.
Absolutely.
Also, because it's Mental Wellness Month, and it's so important that people consider that we're heading to the end of the year, especially the times that we're in, building resilience and burnout, or building resilience and avoiding burnout, at least, it's become such a conversation and such a skill set that we have. Speak to us a little bit about why, as a leader and the coach in that scenario, why do we need it, and how do we go about building this resilience and avoiding it?
I think before we even get into that, people need to be very careful. Resilience, it doesn't mean that you need to go climb Mountain Kilimanjaro to show that you're a resilient person, to show that you can be able to withstand challenges. No. Resilience, basically, it means that being able to push through, being able to lead, being able to practice that emotional intelligence when you're faced with challenges. And it's very important in leadership spaces to have that resilience, because it's very challenging. And having the weight of an organization and people that you lead looking at you and dependent on you, it really can take a toll on an individual. But one needs to be very realistic in terms of practicing optimism. So your optimism must be very realistic. You cannot want to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro with only 1 month of training. So you need to also be realistic in terms of your optimism. As much as you want the team to succeed, as much as you want the organization to grow, for you to build the resilience, you must be very realistic in terms of what you are hoping for or seeing in that organization. You must be able to embrace your purpose and meaning in your position. What drives you as a leader? What is your purpose in that role? What is the change that you want to make? What is the meaning of being in that organization? And what do you want people to take away when they leave that organization? What is the value that you want to provide, not only to your team, but to your customers? So when you embrace your purpose as a leader and you embrace your meaning in your space and leadership, that can help you build resilience as a leader, because you'll be able to live purposefully and also be able to instill that in your team. And you can't build resilience without looking at your mental well-being. And mental well-being, we are talking about your emotional well-being. We are talking about your physical well-being. We are talking about your spiritual well-being. You need to find a way to have compromises between those things, because they are the foundation of your well-being. If your mental well-being is not in a good space, your spiritual well-being can suffer. Same thing with your physical well-being. If it's not in a good space, your mental well-being can suffer. So you need to prioritize that well-being, whatever well-being it looks like to you, so that they are able to be that foundation to carry you as an individual. Even as leaders, you do need a support system. You do need a support network. And coaching is one of the best supports that one can get, because you'll have that accountability partner. You'll be able to have a person to check in on you, to be able to help you when you are leading, when you are holding spaces for other people. A coach can help hold that space for you so that you have that environment where you feel this is my safe space. So being in a leadership position to help you build that resilience, you cannot go at it alone. You do need the support, and coaching is one of those support systems.
As you speak through it, Paul, what stands out is, as you say, it's not, and I think I've had sessions with teams already, and you say the word resilience, it's a trigger word. They're so sick of hearing about resilience, and my reframe to them was, well, let's just say, what is your next best step? And just that framing was, and I love that, you support that with purpose and meaning and value and your mental wellness, and unpacking it to that degree, because, and I think that is a loud message for today's conversation, is that mental resilience doesn't necessarily mean you're leaping and jumping miles ahead of everyone else. How do I, in my moments, decide and realize and prioritize and perhaps compromise on something, and actually taking my next best step? And what does that even look like? I think, and so caught up with what am I supposed to do now? Sometimes it feels enormous, but it could just be that next best step, and it could be that meaning, that value, that compromise or the prioritizing of, like, I just need time, and I've heard and I've shared this with people as well. It's maybe just that 10 minutes you need before you walk in, or before you go into that room. It's cognitively aware that you take and go, let me see how I'm going to handle this thing.
Yes.
When it comes back to that awareness that you mentioned right up front, right? So in terms of all of this, how do we avoid burnout?
So when it comes to being in a leadership position, there is this perception, as you mentioned, people would get triggered when you mentioned the word resilience. There is this thing that you must always have it together. You must always be on your A game. You must always be that person who is always just together. You look right all the time. But burnout happens to most leaders because, like I mentioned at the beginning, leaders don't have an 8 to 5. They have a 6 to 6, and sometimes a 6 to 12, or sometimes even 2 hours of sleep at a time. So when you have other people weighing you on your shoulder, when you are responsible for other people, it really does get to that point where now, where do you have to find a balance for you to be able to take care of yourself? I always say, pour into your own cup. When it comes to burnout, you can't pour from an empty cup. So you must be able to pour into your own cup so that you can pour for the next person. How are you taking care of your mental well-being, as I mentioned? How are you ensuring that you take care of the body that needs to take care of you? So it's a trade-off between, I have to do this, but I need this body to carry me through. So what am I doing to take care of this body? What am I doing to take care of this mental well-being, so that tomorrow I can think clearly, I'm able to be active, I'm able to show up? But you can't show up for everybody if you haven't showed up for yourself. So some of the ways that leaders can deal with burnout is really taking a pause and pouring into their own cup. What are the small acts of kindness that you are showing yourself first before you can show it to the next person? How are you making sure that you are taking care of you first so that you are able to take care of that next person? So stress management, ensuring that there is a time to shut off. You can't always be active. I always make this example that even the greatest bodybuilders, they don't go to the gym 24 hours a day. They need to give their bodies a rest, They need to give their bodies a rest. So leadership is the same thing. You can't always be lifting weights, being on the treadmill all the time. You must pause and give that body a break. So that's how you manage this. You need to be able to pause and take care of yourself, whether it is through doing meditation, through those small acts of kindness. Those are some of the things that can help one be able to just pour into their own cup and help them with burnout. But the most important one, Kevin, be realistic. Sometimes we get overwhelmed because we want to do more than what our bodies can carry for us to do. Do you have that capacity? Does your body have that capacity to go that far? So you need to be realistic. When you have those tasks, when you put those deadlines to your teams, is it realistic? And start there. Because if it's not realistic, then you are pushing yourself over the limit. And most definitely, you are going to get to a space where there is burnout. And I cannot emphasize the importance of rest. And resting, it means shutting down, restarting as an individual, being able to pause. You know, our lives are so busy. We sit in traffic, we have meetings from morning until the evening. So one doesn't get time to just pause. It's very important to pause. You know, I always find it worrisome when people are even having lunch in front of their laptops, because you're working, you're not pausing. Your digestive system is also compromised. So for you to take that 30 minutes to just have lunch, and a lot of people these days are working from home, which is a great thing. But do you get up from your laptop during your lunch and just walk around your house? If you have a garden, do you walk around outside in the garden for that 15 minutes, 30 minutes? So embrace all of those things and take the time to pause.
I love it. And I think one of the words that stand out in what you're sharing with us today is realistic. Sometimes we get to that point where we've made unrealistic expectations of ourselves, and we are harder with ourselves than anyone else is. Create this unrealistic expectation of what it's supposed to be or how it's supposed to be. The truth of the matter is, if we can regroup, have some realistic conversations with ourselves, and just rest and taking the time and being really intentional about it, that in itself is a good next step forward to building resilience, and avoiding the burnout.
Absolutely.
Also, I mean, you and I could have lots of conversations. So I love this. If you could take a takeaway message about just what you want people to take away from today's conversation, leave us with something that you would think, these are 3 insights that people should know and should work on.
That's a beautiful question. I think one of them, I like to have this quote that humans are a work in progress that never ends. We are work in progress. Being a leader, you need to be able to be innovative. So even your leadership position is a work in progress. So you must be able to be open to learning, be able to be a student as a leader, be able to walk that journey and be that person and say, I don't know, but I would love to learn more, ask more questions. So one of the takeaways is that we are a work in progress. So be that student for life. And the second one I would like to say is that asking for support doesn't mean weakness. Asking for support, it just means that I just need another eye view. I just need another opinion. I just need a different mindset from what I'm thinking right now. So never see yourself as a weak person when you ask for help. And the third one, be intentional in anything that you do. Be intentional, because the gift of waking up in the morning, it's not given for everybody. So have that intentionality of living with purpose. When you step into the space, what difference do you want to make? When you leave an organization, what is it that you want people to stay behind and say about you? Be intentional to the lives that you work with, because as a leader, you are there to make a difference. So those would be the 3 things that I would say.
I absolutely love it. Work in progress that never ends, asking for support, and be intentional. Pearl Tshabalala, thank you for just being on the other side of this conversation today, guys. She's a leadership coach, life and wellness coach, mentor, wellness counselor, and employee benefits specialist. So if you want to get hold of Pearl, we're going to put all the details and everything in the description boxes below. And so go and connect with her. She clearly has lots that she can teach so many people. Pearl, thank you. Thank you for the time, and thank you just for sharing with us today.
Thank you so much, Kevin. It's been wonderful being with you today. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Chat soon. Just for now. Bye.
Bye.